This week, the unbelievably brave people of Iran took to the streets to demand their freedom from the murderous Islamic regime. In response, the regime gunned down thousands upon thousands of innocent souls yearning to be free. Many have been demanding that President Trump get involved, that he bomb Iran, that he do a regime change operation against the Ayatollah Khomeini and the rest of the repressive regime. And all week, it seemed like a strike might be imminent. Yet President Trump ran and was elected on a platform of no new wars. And despite his support for the protesters, he remained committed to that promise. NBC reported that the president told his national security team that he would want any military action against Iran to deliver a swift and decisive blow to the regime and not spark a sustained war that dragged on for weeks or months. When this could not be confirmed, the president chose another tactic to fulfill his promise to the Iranian protesters that help was on the way. He tweeted, "I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops," the president wrote on Truth Social. And the killing stopped, at least for now, according to Trump as well as the Iranian regime. On Thursday, Iran said it would stop executing protesters like Erfan Soltani, who was scheduled to be executed by the regime this week along with 800 others. Will it hold? Only time will tell. We don't want to be too credulous. The regime might start mowing down protesters again. In the meantime, the president is sending military assets to the region. The president's refusal to rush into military action seems right to me. Regime change in the Middle East is a tough business and one we're really bad at. Sure, we can bomb Iran, but then what? Who takes over? What is the plan for a democratically elected government? Who will make it happen? It can't be us. I desperately want the brave people of Iran to win their freedom from the Islamic regime, but the American people have decisively voted against getting mired down in another forever war in the Middle East. And the president is absolutely right to be asking, what's next, before taking decisive action. Joining me now is the host of the brand new NewsNation show, Katie Pavlich. Tonight, it's Katie Pavlich. Katie, thank you so much for joining me.
It's so great to see you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Of course. So excited for yours to start next week. So I want to start by asking you, will Trump bomb Iran? And in your view, should he?
Well, we don't know. Nobody knows the answer to that question. I don't think the president even knows, given everything that you just laid out so beautifully. You know, the center of President Trump's foreign policy is always based on the question of what is the American interest here. And it is in the interest of America not to have the Iranian regime stay in power, just given that they have been at war with the United States for 40 years. They started their reign of terror in Iran by capturing and holding Americans hostage for hundreds of days. They, of course, have killed thousands of American soldiers, whether it's the Beirut bombing in Lebanon, whether it's attacking our troops in Iraq and maiming countless others of them. They, of course, are behind Hezbollah and Hamas and all of these proxy groups, which have destabilized the entire region and also made their way over to Venezuela to try and destabilize the Western Hemisphere. It's a regime that has been pursuing nuclear weapons, that has a genocidal ideology. And so, the president made that decision to bomb the nuclear sites, which was in the interest of the American people to prevent a nuclear war with Iran, to prevent them from holding the world and the region hostage. It's hard for me to believe that that was going to be the only step in this, given that the regime is in place and will continue to pursue that program, even despite the attacks at some point. But you're right about the president needing to be careful here, because the intelligence out of Iran has been, not always the best when it comes to what's actually happening there. But I would say that this is not the United States going in and forcing regime change. This is regime change from the inside out. It's the people of Iran who just need the final push from a government that actually can give them some arms, because they're, of course, unarmed against the government. But the big question is, what does come next? And if it's not going to be something that's in the interest of the United States, the president, of course, is going to hesitate.
One of the things that I think struck a lot of people was the silence from the international leftist community in support of these brave Iranian protesters after they spent years and years and years, protesting against Israel, ostensibly on behalf of Palestinians. What was your reaction to this silence?
Well, Israel and the United States have been defending themselves against Iranian-backed Hamas Palestinian terrorists in Gaza and all over the Middle East, quite frankly. And so when you start to realize that the reason there's been silence on college campuses, when we saw so much commotion and violence here at home over Israel and the United States deciding that, Hamas needed to go, you start to realize that it's because they're on the same team. The left, the communist red-green alliance between communism, leftism, and radical Islam is perfectly encapsulated in the Iranian regime. So it's not that they don't believe in certain things, it's that they are on the side of the Iranian regime, which is why you're not seeing them speaking out.
Somebody who's not on the side of the Iranian regime or any anti-Semites is President Trump. This week, he gave an interview to the New York Times in which he made very clear where he stands on the issue. I think we have a full screen of this. He was asked about anti-Semitism, whether anti-Semites have a role, in the party, a place in the party, and he said, I think we don't like them. He had a few other choice words to say about that. This comes in the midst of a big debate that's happening on the right. I like to say it's not on the right, it's between content creators and conservatives. Of course, conservatives, have no truck with anti-Semitism, but a lot of content creators seem to be dabbling in it these days. Did the president put that debate to rest with this interview?
I think he put the debate to rest when it comes to him and elected officials and the Make America Great Again movement. I think it's exactly what you're talking about. The people who are getting clicks and benefiting from this online, if they're actually anti-Semitic or if they actually are just using this issue as a way to get attention, that those are, I guess, two issues that could be one and the same, because if you're using that issue to gain some kind of benefit, I think that's pretty disgusting. But I'm glad that the president addressed it, because you're right, it is something that is in the debate, and I think that conservatives and the right have actually been smeared with this accusation that it's now a political party or side of the political aisle that is responsible for all of the anti-Semitism we're seeing, when that's just not the case. I think it's a very limited few people who have very loud microphones, and they have no shame in what they're saying, not to mention facts. And so I'm glad that the president stood up and say enough of this, and we should not be tolerating it.
Can't let you go without discussing Greenland. I know you're a big fan of us acquiring it. I got to tell you, Katie, I don't get it. The American people are struggling with affordability. Healthcare is a really big issue. This seems so out of nowhere to me. Make the case for acquiring Greenland.
It is not out of nowhere. This is something the president tried to do during his first term, which was quite many years ago now. And Greenland is a very strategic, position in the Arctic Circle. Russia and China have been making gains in that part of the world for years. China calls itself a near-Arctic country, and Greenland is I think the biggest island in the world that has amazing natural resources. And just in terms of where the bases are militarily for Russia and China, the United States is actually behind. So you're absolutely right. There are tons of domestic issues that we need to be focused on, but we do live in a very violent, scary world out there, and the Russians and the Chinese have been on the move in the Arctic Circle for many years, and we are falling behind. And quite frankly, NATO has not done much to keep them out of the region either.
So, Katie, your show starts next week. You have a very big interview. You've landed an interview with the President of the United States. Can we ask what your first question is going to be to the President?
I haven't decided yet, because as you know, the news cycle could change in the next 30 seconds. So I'm going to be flexible on what the first question is. But the date of the interview is significant, because it's the 1-year anniversary of his second inauguration. So we're going to be talking about the year that he's had back in the Oval Office, what's coming next for his administration, and then maybe I'll ask him about Greenland and see what his options are for obtaining it and why he thinks it's important.
Great stuff, Katie. Big mazel tov on the show. I cannot wait to tune in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Great to see you. Can't wait to have you on. Thanks.
Thank you. And don't forget to tune into Katie Pavlich tonight. It premieres on January 19th at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be incredible.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.